This is The Digital Key, Season 2, Chapter 7. In this episode, we will be talking about the role of hierarchical infinite recursion in maintaining in-group territoriality and exclusion. In much earlier episodes, we talked about how hierarchically superior system members experience greater recursion from negation than hierarchically inferior system members. The idea was that the higher in a hierarchy you are, the greater the extent of infinite recursion which results from negation. In the last episode, we talked about negational valence, where an analog structure adjacent to a digital structure links the substitutionary negation to the digital negation of a given impulse. Negational valence is linked to exclusion of an impulse from an in-group described by a hierarchy. Thus, non-linear intersections resulting from hierarchical compulsion for lower-ranked system members follow from negational valence with respect to a given excluded impulse. This means that in-groups maintain their form by excluding certain impulses from expression, which requires negational valence with respect to an adjacent analog structure. This analog structure means that infinite recursion resulting from negation preserves that negation for all hierarchically linked system members who belong to the in-group through nonlinearity. Likewise, hierarchical compulsion arises out of this infinite recursion linked to negational valence, preserving territoriality for hierarchically superior system members by exclusion of that impulse for all hierarchically inferior structure members. This territoriality involves the induction of expectation matching by proximity alone, preserved by nonlinear intersections. This manifests as the hierarchical flow of consciousness from vessel to vessel, as the lower in priority acts out the impulse of the higher according to the objective of the higher. For the inferior individual, negational valence is lost through hierarchical compulsion, which also dislodges dual valence, resulting in a single digital stream consistent with the hierarchical narrative. On the reverse, dual narratives, or two digital streams created by dual valence, can be revived by failing to meet the expectations of the hierarchically superior. This involves negation of an impulse, which generates negational valence in an adjacent analog structure. On the balance, the sum total of all impulses subject to negational valence describes the normative structure for a given structure member within a given hierarchy. It also describes the impulses excluded by the in-group describing that hierarchy. Ultimately, however, the territoriality is preserved by compulsion with respect to inferior structure members according to the impulse exclusions assigned by that in-group, enforced by infinite recursion with hierarchical preference. That's the end of the podcast for today.